For a while, the market with MSPs has been, it's been a rich market, and people have gotten away with a lot. And I think that as the market is being more and more competitive, there's both bigger players and smaller players who are into these markets, that one of those keys is how well are we doing things. And so I think the automation is key. I think our measurements are key, and being able to get things into a process. The automation is perfect because what it does is it takes a manual thing that you're doing and it automates it. It does those steps over and over again, repeatably every single time. The things that we can't automate, we still have to get to that same type of a process. And we used to get away with not being quite as good at it, but we really don't have any choice if we're going to maintain our competitive edge. Well, I think really the sooner that someone automates, the better they are. And I think that's one of probably the most underutilized tools. It gets sold very quickly, the automation, the RMM, remote monitoring and management tools, that it's going to do all this wonderful stuff for you. And it really can. The problem is it's really difficult for the smaller MSP to be able to actually leverage it appropriately. And so that's one of the things that we found for us here in CharTec and ARC, that even though we've already been at that critical mass and we've got all the tools in place, that we found there's some stuff lacking from an automation standpoint that we could do better. And so we partnered with PyCon Designs to enable us to really take advantage, the full advantage of our automation tools, to really fine tune it at a fraction of the cost of having somebody who can do this full time. So we get that benefit of the true expert that usually you're not going to be able to afford until you're at that maybe 15 to 20 user mark. And now somebody who has a couple employees can actually take advantage of the true power of automation at a fraction of the cost. Your largest cost, which is that employee cost, that technician time where you're doing things over and over again, multiple times. We've got that rule now. If you have to do something twice, it needs to be automated. So you have to give me the reason not to automate it. Right now is probably one of the best times. We have a lot of people who are looking at the Windows 7 end of life and upgrades to Windows 10. One of the quotes that we had, one of our internal quotes of one of our customers to upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10, I believe our project team had figured we were looking at about 80 hours of tech time just doing this upgrade of a bunch of machines, and ended up being able to spend several hours with PyCon to fully automate that whole process. So now instead of having somebody going machine to machine to fix all these different pieces, we do the test script, make sure it works, find the little bugs that we have to tweak and kind of perfect that, and then point it at the machines that need to be upgraded, come in the next morning and they're done. From a pricing standpoint, you don't have near as much pricing pressure. So in the case of of a project that would have 80 hours of time that you would have to bake in to do this, if we can do that in 4 or 5 hours of time, I can still charge for maybe 50 hours of time, and I'm making way more money on the project, but I'm still able to come in way under what anyone else could have a chance to do if they don't have the automation tools and capabilities that we do. Well, a couple things. One is you're able to get much better information about what's going on. Most people have the tools that are telling them problems in the system, but very few people are really doing much self-healing. So when it identifies a problem, be able to rectify it. And leveraging PyCon or leveraging the RMM tools, we're able to actually identify a problem, take action, verify that it is resolved, and then simply report back into the ticketing system that we've resolved the issue. There was an issue, but we fixed it. If we're unable to resolve the issue through automation, then it can escalate it to a human to be able to take action on it. But that allows us to be able to be really monitoring the system 24/7 and then take corrective action and prevent problems from happening. And it seems kind of passé because that's what MSPs have been preaching for since the beginning, but very few people are actually doing it. And so, that gray area is very quickly eroding to where you won't stay in business if you aren't truly fulfilling those promises that you've made. The future is going to be into the machine learning aspect of where we're not having to actually write the scripts, but the scripts are writing themselves, where you're being able to have a lot more intelligence behind it. Instead of automating processes, it's recognizing things that you may not have been able to recognize before and then resolving them. We're still a ways off from that. We're several years, but I think that's going to, pretty quickly, will start to become into the forefront of what we're doing with that automation. I don't think there's any way that you can exist without doing it. And without doing it well, you won't last very long.